Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday the 3rd of September. So first things first, let's look at the news events that could affect the market today. I'm just going to go onto the Forex factory listing first here. So Tuesday the 3rd of September. We've got inflation that's already come out. Actually, I can refresh this. It came out at 0.0, so not as good as expected. Quarter on quarter, I think was around about the same. Certainly year on year was the same as expected. Aside of that, we got US data out there at 3 p.m. the manufacturing PMI and prices, and the prices will be quite interesting because of inflation. So we're watching inflation all the time. The manufacturing figure itself is important because we're looking for this sort of soft landing with the US, and to be fair, many of the results are coming through okay, but we'll see how things continue there. So that's the day. Don't forget, as we run through this week, we've got some sort of more significant data coming out for the Canadian dollar there, and then later in the week, Thursday and Friday, we've got the ADPs on Thursday, the non-farms on Friday, so and for the Canadian dollar as well. So a bit of data to come yet, but not significant today. Very little today now. Looking at the euro dollar here then, so yesterday it did end up on a slightly positive day there, but I'll say slightly positive day. I think it's almost like by default it ended up there yesterday. It's gone very well. That was it. That was the movement there which held it, and it's rolling back a little bit at the moment. It's pretty ugly what we're seeing here. I mean, it basically flatlined for the afternoon, which was expected. There's bank holiday in the US. Are we going to see something a little bit more dynamic today? Well, it's which way it will go. The bigger picture would still suggest to the downside. I like the idea of the monthly pivot. How to get into it, maybe a breakdown of these prior lows, whichever way you look at them, could be the potential, but the pivots are pinched as anything today on all of these markets. The pound, he says, here we go, similar picture in terms of yesterday, slight update there, but the range was very small. Sleepy Joe Biden must have been in charge. Anyway, selling off again towards that pivot overall here. It would be interesting to see if we get down to that. For now, it's just looked a little bit softer this morning. Last 8 hours, it's been rolling over there. So actually, last 4 hours really, it's been rolling over for. But now, of course, it's double bottoming where it is at the moment. We're seeing a bit of a reaction to that as traders either take profits or start buying at that level, whichever. But either way, they're buying. We'll see what happens post 8 o'clock. I haven't really. It's not the cleanest to be taking trades on the break even. Looking at the break thinking, well, maybe we've got some more to happen. We do have an untouched weekly pivot above, which is a bit disappointing. Would have been much nicer if we'd run into that in the 50 and got a bit of confluence around that area, but it's quite uncertain at the moment. US dollar yen, well, this is a big mover, is the yen against all its peers. And particularly the dollar, it's strengthened here. I'm just wondering now, are we going to start seeing it come down on another path? But this is more from a bigger picture, so we can probably let today go a little bit. It could be below the pivot there, the weekly pivot, for me to be starting selling it somewhere in that region. It is still quite a mess. I mean, last week was a hell of a mess there, just doodling up there. This week, well, it started off into some resistance into its R1 there. We'll see what comes of this. On the lower time frames, I mean, what I'm seeing here on the hourly time frames was a lovely double top. So we've got the sellers coming in into this either way, closing out longs. or selling just because it's double topped, whichever way you like to look at it. I would like to see a lower high come through, maybe sell on the break of that. It may be a bit better on this time frame. So if we can get a lower high, maybe just a little bit of a retrace and a breakdown, that might give me a bit of a trigger for the bigger picture pattern I'm seeing here. So I'm really looking to see if this will push on further to the downside. Australian US, well, it likes the Aussie, the Euro, the Pound. They've all softened here. The Aussie maybe somewhat more. It had quite a shocker there in the last 4 hours. It sold off quite strongly. However, started to, well, it's into its hourly S3 here at this moment. Look, it's classical sort of find some support into the pivot. So that support level 3, certainly holding it for now. Would I want to be trading this today? Not really, because it's moved so much already. The retrace, well, it's pitching towards the downside, so why do I want to be buying it? Well, maybe on the bigger time frame it still has this bigger uptrend, so I will look at that through the day, but I really don't like it buying it when it's put this lower high in. You could see it on the 4 hourly. These lower highs, don't really like the pattern there until I see a higher low come through the other way. I'm bearish on that. But it hasn't got a lot of distance to go today. Canadian dollar, still looking at this bear flag. US dollar CAD, just really waiting for maybe a breakdown lower. Again, taking it off the 4 hourly rather than anything else. It has, if you look at the hourly, it's quite ugly what it's done here. It's taken quite a move through the Asian session there to the upside there, but pulled a long way away from the trend line. I don't like it when it does that, because, well, it's got a lot of movement to happen before it even breaks the trend line, and you sort of most of the day's move could potentially be out of the market. However, you could say, well, okay, I'll sell it from where it is now. Yet it's technically in an upward trend on this hourly time frame, so I've got to wait until it gives me a better signal. So again, this might be running into tomorrow. New Zealand dollar, like the Australian dollar here, sold off big time today. Big move in the previous 4 hour period there. Really has rolled off quite strongly there, and again we're down into the S3 area. In fact, it's double bottomed around that area at the moment. Don't want to be buying it, and I can't be selling it from where it is. Maybe if it comes up to a key moving average or something, it might give me a sell opportunity. But for now, it's just done too much today. The US dollar Swissy, well, the news just came out on that, and we've seen a little bit of action. I expect the dollar to strengthen against the Swissy a little bit more. Perhaps that inflation data was lower than expected, but it's not like it's a massive miss or anything like this. But the US dollar is strengthening against the other markets, so why not a little bit more against something that's barely moving? But it's quite an ugly what we're seeing here. Again, we're seeing another double top here, another reaction to the early reaction to this double top. This could all change. What time is it? 7:56. We'll see what happens this morning post 8 o'clock on this, but the trend in the lower time frames is certainly up here. High lows, high highs coming through. A bit more mixed on the 4 hourly picture. It's really still bear flag territory, and we could still see this rolling over. So a bit of an in-betweener. Euro pound really not doing anything here. It's a little special. It's still got a bear flag going on there. At some point we could see a breakdown of a trend below the lows here, but again, it's stretched away. It has now come into a near-term double top. We'll see what the reaction is to that, but it needs to be below that trend line for me to be considering shorts. Okay, like the euro yen, just go through a couple of interesting ones, but the euro yen's really sold off here this morning. Again, very similar picture to the dollar yen, and sometimes when I see this I think we may be better off as the dollar is the stronger of the markets, better off with a dollar there at the moment, but it's quite ugly on the 4 hourlies here. And the hourlies, it's already moved so much. So again, one of those moves quite a lot. The pair I was looking at, and it's come short and it's moving around ugly, was this Euro CAD. I was really looking for it to come back into its weekly pivot. Yesterday it looked like it was going to fail, and it certainly later into the evening there it looked like, well, it might have actually failed and gone earlier, but it's still plodding its way up there. I've left the alert on there. Again, this is more of a swing trade I'm looking at here as opposed to a day trade. It's that in between, using the shorter time frames to get the entry, but really looking at the weekly pivots and the 4-hourly and dailies just to give me a bit of a picture. You see on the dailies we just sort of bounced off again a near-term double bottom there. So just looking for that extra bit. Now it could break through its weekly pivot and run into the monthly pivot, which is above, if it gets any traction, but for now it's all slow. So there's the major currencies. Looking at the other markets, looking at gold. Gold just, I mean, I was talking about this yesterday in terms it's just consolidating around these highs here, not really got too much price action that I'm interested in. Really slow all day yesterday. It did have a little pitch up there. It's quite ugly overall here. It's an ugly picture. For me, I'd rather swing trade gold than day trade it personally. But oil, there's it's interesting. Yesterday I was reading in the morning there that they might be starting to produce a little bit more oil, which could see oil prices come down. And of course, what's it done yesterday? It had a little bounce. Little being the operative word here. Nice bear flag on the 4-hourlies. Showing we could see the breakdown. I mean, it would need to come back below the pivot here, and preferably this afternoon and not this morning. I do like trading it around the sort of 2 o'clock zone. It tends to get some better moves, but we'll see what comes of that. Okay, and finally, let's just have a quick look at the equity markets and look at the S&Ps. S&P's hanging in there around the all-time highs on the futures at the moment. No live market yesterday as such, so a quiet old day. It does look like we could get a bit more of a bounce here at some stage. It still looks, to me, positive. There's still data out there. We see more of a softer landing coming through in the data. Excuse me, and we see interest rate cuts, and all that's going to do is potentially provide more support and more potential for the upside. The Nasdaq here, let's just come down the time frames again. They're all very, very quiet. There's no point going through those individually. The DAX is looking positive this morning. Just come down the time frames here. It has had this period of consolidation, but right into the highs here. Quite like this. It could be taking the breakout here and pushing on some more. Certainly looks like it at the moment, with the currency potentially pushing down. The chances for the DAX to push up is probably greater. So air kiss the daily pivot R1, where maybe it could push on some more. We are running around significant highs when it's up here. The FTSE's going for a charge this morning as well on the open. By the looks of things, I'm just seeing both these markets pushing up strongly. The FTSE just opening here. Just come down the time frames here, getting a bit of a kicker straight away. Some potential. I don't get drawn into these early moves, but there is potential on the upside here on the FTSE for a bit of a continuation. A bit scrappy. Yesterday sold off quite early in the morning there, 8 o'clock sold off. We'll see what it can do today, whether it can gain back. Didn't do much in the afternoon, but again, no surprises with some of the markets closed. Right, okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to wish you a great day's trading. As I said, there's a few things out there, but many of them have already moved, particularly looking at the Euro CAD. I'll leave you with the Euro CAD in terms of the potential. I'll get the right one. There we go. Euro CAD, and see if this pulls up to its weekly pivot, but at the moment not looking bright, but it's still got a couple of hours in that bar. Right, have a good day, catch you later. There we go.